Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Surrounded by Bourbon with me, Phil Crawford, aka Causeway Whiskey. This is episode 14 and we are looking at Old Grandad 114. Before I even get into this, I just want to talk about the t-shirt. So if anybody in the US is unfamiliar with the brand Tato, I just want to let you know that this is the greatest potato chip, or as we call them back home, crisp in the world. And the two flavors to look out for are cheese and onion and smoky bacon. If you ever get to Ireland, make sure that you seek them out. Interestingly also, there is a difference between the Tato that you get in the Republic of Ireland, the south of Ireland, and the north of Ireland. I know I'm from Northern Ireland, I am slightly biased, and I think they're just a smidge better than the ones in the south. Anyway, that's something for you guys to debate. Just go and check them out, do a taste off, have fun. So yeah, we are back with Jim Beam Distilleries with the Old Grandad range, and I'm kind of working in reverse order here because this is the highest proof expression, so kind of a little back to front here, but anyway. So this brand started in the late 19th century when Raymond Hayden opened a distillery, and he named that distillery and the bourbon in honor of his grandfather, Basil Hayden, who, as it happens, also since 1992 has his own line of bourbon in the Jim Beam portfolio. So in 1899, Old Grandad was sold to the Wathen family, I think they're Wathen family, W-A-T-H-E-N, maybe somebody will tell me how to pronounce that properly, whose whiskey business would later become the American Medicinal Spirits Company, which meant that Old Grandad was actually allowed to be produced through Prohibition, and it was sold as medicinal whiskey and for those who were sick, blind or lame. And that company also then went on to lay the foundations for what became known as the National Distillers Group. Now, the brand changed hands again in 1987 when it was sold to Fortune Brands Incorporated, which then became Beam, before finally becoming part of the Beam Suntory global portfolio. So there you go, that's the history. How much was this? $32, so we've kind of went up a little bit in price, nothing crazy. And what about how's it made? So this is column distilled. The mash bill is 63% corn, it is 27% rye, so we're in high rye territory, and 10% malted barley, and it is 114 proof or 57% ABV, so I'm expecting a bit of a kick to this. So without further ado, let us get into the nosing and the tasting notes, and we'll see how Old Grandad 114 fares in my bourbon journey so far. So the thing with the nose on this is interesting. Considering the high proof, this is really closed. It's very subdued, it's closed, it's a little tight, by which I mean it doesn't really give off a lot initially. So you kind of have to spend a bit of time with this. I poured this 20 minutes ago and it's still not really giving huge amounts on the nose. But when you get into this, there's sweet cinnamon is probably the first thing you're going to get. And also caramel stroopwafels. So I don't know if you've ever had those lovely Dutch delicacies, but they're very nice. Sawdust, there's allspice, there's corn, there's a bit of cask char going on. There's menthol too, and a little bit of fresh tobacco, alongside some kind of red berries. So yeah, a bit closed. But anyway, we'll go on to the palate, and then we're going to add water because this is pretty hefty ABV. So it's a pretty chewy whiskey. You know, it's got good body. And surprisingly for the ABV, it's pretty approachable. Like there is, the alcohol is well integrated. There's no real alcohol burn. It doesn't punch you in the face with the ABV. Taste-wise, there's like some dry roasted peanuts, some sour or tart cherry, and the rye spice is very noticeable. But kind of like the nose, the palate is a little tight, just not giving huge amounts. As expected with a lot of rye, that spiciness is there. So there's clove, there's menthol, there's cinnamon. There's some orange bitters in there. So there's a slightly herbal element. Oak and leather. There's also a metallic element to this. So I mean, it definitely does feel like there's copper in here. And weirdly also, there's something kind of meaty, like a beef bouillon, or you know, like a stock cube kind of thing. Yeah, interesting. Finish wise at full strength, it's actually a fairly decent length to this, kind of medium length. But there's that copper, the clove, there's oak, quite a lot of oak actually, a little astringency, but I don't mind that. So I've got my little water dropper from an Irish brand there, Scar Uska. So shout out to Nathan for sending this to me. I'm going to add a little bit of water. This is from the To A Glass company, so definitely check them out. I will add maybe just a little drop more because it is pretty hefty on the ABV. And we will see where this takes us. So straight away the nose becomes a lot more expressive. The notes that I've already kind of picked out are amplified a bit more. But now also we're getting like salted peanuts. There's actually some milk chocolate going on. And those red berries have kind of translated into maybe something like plum or damson. So yeah, the nose is definitely benefited. So let's go on to the palate. Okay, so I'm going to say that things are falling apart a little bit here. It's released a lot of spice, so this has become quite hot. There's a bit of chili pepper going on. It's way more astringent than it was at full strength. And there's also kind of like a gluey element that is not my favorite note, but I'm picking it up. Man, that is hot. now that the water is added. So overall, what am I going to score this? Based on the full strength experience, and not this, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think this is a really solid whiskey at full strength. The nose is really good once it opens up. It's definitely helped with the water. The problem is that with water then the palate just kind of disintegrates a little bit. It is not doing as much for me as it was at full strength. So I think that, you know, water is not the friend of this on a palate point of view. Definitely better at full strength. But for $32, I'm relatively happy with this purchase. 6 out of 10, very solid. The high rye content, I imagine, would definitely make this stand out in a cocktail, like a Sazerac or an old fashioned. But you know, it's pretty nice just to sip on as well. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Old Grandad 114. I will probably try and find the bottled and bond and the 7-year-old and so on, and get my thoughts there. But thank you very much for watching. Again, please like, subscribe, please comment as well, give me some feedback on how you think I could maybe make the videos better if you think that is required. And just like, let's talk about the whiskey. That is why we're here after all. But thank you very much for watching. Until next time, have a great night. Slàinte.